The following show and its content are the responsibility of the show's producers and participants.
Information related in this program is not meant to substitute medical recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
That's right. Welcome to the Couch Live here. It's a beautiful Friday from New Smyrna Beach. We're on a countdown, actually. We're on a countdown here from New Smyrna Beach. We got a hurricane coming. Hurricane Dorian. Hello, Dorian, you little punk. Why don't you turn around and get your 50 Shades of Wet elsewhere. Leave us alone. Anyway, we are on that countdown. But we still came out here to New Smyrna Beach to do the Couch Live. And, of course, we have some special guests today, so we didn't want to cancel. But it's like I said, it's a beautiful Friday. It's nice and warm outside. Trinity doesn't like it. It's so warm. Hot. So let me show you who Trinity is right here for the YouTube watchers. There's my partner, Trinity Phillips. What's up, brother? Dharma guy.
It is too hot. However,
what?
Dorian did take a turn, or the path now. It looks like it's going to hit Vero Beach as opposed to us. So
yeah,
should be okay.
Yeah.
For all you looking at us and wondering, we should be fine.
It's all the Democrats praying that it hits Mar-a-Lago. That's what's happening.
Yeah, it's going to hit there.
Mark Zuckerberg is that powerful, bro. I'm telling you.
There you go.
He got all his little Facebook cronies together and says, have it hit Mar-a-Lago.
Well, as long as they spend their time doing that and not removing more of our videos.
That's right. Mark, leave our video alone. Get off my lawn.
Exactly.
Little punk. Anyway, see, I already started off wrong. So what's going to happen is Mark Zuckerberg's going to remove this one, too.
Exactly.
Apparently you can't say anything negative about that establishment. But let's not get political, but just let's not forget the Democrat system, and we're independent. I'm independent, so I'm not Republican or Democrat. But the Democratic system is the establishment. They're the ones that want to control everything. And Mark, I don't like the way you control this thing. I mean, if you don't like what you hear, you just remove it. Without any explanation. And you can't call anybody. Well, we can't even call anybody.
The explanation part is what worries me.
It's like an email that they never answer.
The explanation part is what worries me, because our show, the one, and for those of you who don't know,
right.
We did a show on Tuesday for Dharma Time, and it was about self-disappointment. Thought it was a pretty good show. Thought it went well. We had a lot of comments, a lot of people paying attention.
Right.
Later on that day, gone. So
with no explanation.
And I know there's at least one person or two people currently watching right now that did watch Tuesday's show.
Yeah.
So I personally want to say I wasn't ignoring your comments. I went back to respond to them, and the video was gone.
Right.
So I apologize if you felt ignored.
Yeah.
I promise you it wasn't my doing.
Yeah, now we look like jackasses.
Yes.
No, we're not the jackass. Mark Zuckerberg is.
But yes, I would like to know why, though. We didn't say anything bad. I don't know why they took it off.
I'm just so jealous of that dude too, though. You know, it's like
he's got a lot of money.
Yeah. It's like you want to be mad at somebody, but at the same time, you're like, dang it, though.
If I would have known then, like, I could have
invested. You know what?
Invested into Facebook,
bro. You know that movie where that guy sings all the Beatles songs and he gets famous from singing the Beatles songs?
I haven't watched it.
I literally still couldn't do that. I could know everything and still not make it work in the future because I would forget something that I had screwed up. So I'm good at screwing things up, and then I'm good at building passion from pain, which is what we're talking about today on the Couch Live.
What a good segue
let's
that
get right
was.
into it. So we're going to talk about passion from pain today. There's so many of us in the business of addiction treatment, that came from being on the other side, being the one that everybody was like, God, I wonder if he's going to make it. I mean, this guy's pretty bad. I know there's a lot of you out there that knew me from the past that said, there's no way this guy's not going to prison. There's no way this guy is going to be okay. Right. And I'm sure when I turned up on their timeline years later, one of the comments people were saying when they watched it, go like, dude, how is that guy even still alive? You know, or how is he still in this country? I thought he got deported with the rest of his amigos. No, I didn't get deported. I didn't, or forced to leave.
Yet.
Yet.
Still time.
Dual citizens don't have that problem, brother. And other stuff, because at the end of the day, recovery is possible, right? Remission is not only possible, it's actually probably more the norm.
Sure.
There's so many people out there in remission from addiction. And you have the potential to do it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about those of us that now turn around and say, what the hell else am I going to do? I mean, this is all I know. I know drugs. Look, I knew how to use drugs. I knew how to flip drugs. I knew how to make money off of drugs. I knew how to party. That's really all I talked about for years. I didn't know anything else. All of a sudden, you're clean and sober or whatever, and you're like, how am I going to get a job? I tried it. I worked for Track Auto for like a week. I don't know anything about cars. I know I'm Mexican. Don't be racist. I'm Mexican, but I don't know jack about cars. I go work at Track Auto. These people bring in these like starters that I didn't know what it was. I go, what is that? And they go like, I need a new one of these. I'm like, please explain. You know, what the hell is that? You know what I mean? I don't know what that is, bro. I just work here. Can you just say I need a blank, whatever. Anyway, to go from slanging dope or whatever, right, dealing drugs, making all this. FICA never got in my pocket when I was selling drugs. There was no FICA. There was no paying Medicare. There's no paying taxes. All of a sudden, it's like you work all these hours and you get this itty-bitty little check, and they say, no, be grateful. And I'm like, no, bro, this is tough. Part of that recovery process is learning how to be okay with just living like a normal Joe, having a 9 to 5, have it not be so, up and down and stress and doing all this craziness, and having schedules and being consistent and being structured. And so, but what do? And what industry accepts you more than any other than the construction industry? What industry accepts
landscaping?
So many of us. It's the treatment industry.
Yeah.
It's like you actually know what you're talking about, and you actually can save lives and get paid for it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do so, Trinity, how can we do this for a full hour without any commercial interruption? You sell the soap, my brother.
Funny you should ask.
There you go.
We have sponsors we got to thank. We have Retreat Behavioral Health. We have Gatehouse Treatment. And then with us in studio today is representatives from JourneyPure, which I'll let you introduce in a minute. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as always, the Now Matters More Foundation. You would see what we do at nowmattersmore.org, or you can call 833-NOW-MATTERS. That's 833-NOW-MATTERS.
Right.
We have the Orange County Drug Free Coalition, which has been a part of this show for 20 years.
20 years, man. Yeah. 20 years. The show's been on for 20 years.
Just guys clap. Trust me.
How about a card?
You're gonna have the card because he's sensitive about that this year.
Because nobody celebrated it.
He wants to make sure everybody knows that it's been 20 years.
And the only here
we go.
Yeah, and the only celebration that was going to happen got canceled the other day.
There we go.
So Rockers in Recovery, we're going to have this big old concert thing and a big old thing, and also celebrate the Couch Live being on radio for 20 years.
Oh, was that part of it?
It was part of it. For 20 years, I've been on.
It's
you name another addiction show that's been on for 20 years. You all wannabes, come laters.
So let me.
My little resentment got to come out.
I see that. All right. So the other sponsor,
that's right.
The last sponsor to help us keep this going is we have Sports Subaru South. And they've got an awesome event coming up in December, or from November 15th to December 31st. It's called Share the Love. And any car purchased through Sports Subaru South will result in a $500 donation to the Now Matters More Foundation. Yeah. So very excited about that. Make sure you guys get ready to go get your Subarus and help us out.
Yeah.
And as always, you can find us on social media at WPSN99, at The Dope Doctor, at The Dharma Guy, and at Now Matters More. Why not?
That's right. And one final one. I'll tell you one final one. And it's, we did a CBD challenge not too long ago, right?
We did.
And I got a little update on you.
Oh, really?
So even I
haven't heard this one.
Well, no, you haven't, actually. So it just happened last night. So even though for some reason, I'm an outlier, and it didn't really do anything for me. Right? But it did wonders for you and other people that were in the challenge. For sleep. Well, that's, that matters, right? And so my mom comes through town because she's going off all over the world for like 5 or 6 weeks. So she's going to be in Greece, Mexico, Texas, all over the place. Love your life, Mom. You go enjoy, baby. You did great. You deserve it. So she's going to go all over the place. So she comes by and she goes, listen, I need to order more CBD oil. I said, wait a minute. It worked for you? She goes, yeah. I was surprised. I got to admit, because I thought we have the same constitution. I get sick, she gets sick, that kind of deal. Nope. She goes, it's amazing. It's not only calmed me down, she goes, but I sleep very well. Yeah. She goes, I need more before I go on this trip. I'm like, oh, my God. So thank you, Canaroo.com. But anyway, no, not that.com. Go to NowMattersMoreCBD.com because that's what my mom did.
Right on.
Because that link is still available. And they donate money for every CBD bottle bought from their site going through NowMattersMoreCBD.com. The Now Matters More Foundation gets money to help people in recovery.
45% or something too. It's a
good little chunk. So thank you very much, everybody at Canaroo for doing that. Now remember, if you are in remission from addiction, though, what I recommend is don't get the one that's full spectrum. Try the one that's the isolate first, which is no THC. Try that first if you want to do the CBD oil. Anyway, let's get on with the show. All right, so let's introduce our guests. So in studio, we have two very special people. One I've known for a very long time. One I've known at least a couple years now. Right? It's been at least a couple years. Yeah. Let me let you see them, YouTubers. There it is. It's Scott Kelley and Perry Landsman from JourneyPure. How you guys doing?
Great.
Fantastic. Just so you guys know, this is the camera that is taking you guys in. Of course, you have the live over there. You got Facebook Live. You have Instagram Live. But this is the one for YouTube, just so you know. But please, Scott. First, Scott. Look at Scott's well dressed, right?
He's always well dressed.
He's always well dressed.
Yeah, I like the pocket square though. That's
yeah. He's Mr. Pocket Square.
Even without the collar, he still sports the pocket square.
It doesn't matter.
That's awesome.
Doesn't matter. Scott's got style. So, Scott, first, what is your position over at JourneyPure? And tell us a little bit about your style.
Sure. Well, I always had a face made for radio, so I had to dress it up otherwise. Anyway, I came on with JourneyPure just recently, actually. So I've been in the industry for about 26 years now. Came on with JourneyPure July 8th. That was my start date. And I work in business development for them. So what we do is we have the ability and privilege of going out and talking to anybody that'll listen, first and foremost. But secondly, doctors, clinicians, psychiatrists, ERs, hospitals, anybody that comes in contact with somebody that may be struggling with using. So just be able to spread the word and tell them about our awesome program. So we travel around the community. We're out and about quite often. And, when the cool thing is about our job is once we get that referral and we get them to the treatment place, we get them actually to the facility. You think, intrinsically, wow, I may have just saved another life. So, that I think is one of the biggest things that for me, just being privileged to work in the industry is, knowing that we have the opportunity and the ability to save lives every day.
Right on. And you guys work closely, and just so, if anybody out there is thinking that reps only rep for them. Here's the way I understand reps, because at least reps that I'll talk about or bring on the Couch Live are reps that actually rep people to get in recovery period, whether they go to their place or not. Because what people don't understand is you guys get more phone calls and do more referrals to other places than your own.
Absolutely.
And that's what people don't really get. So I just want to make sure to, for those of you that don't know, good places actually refer out a lot more than they keep. And Perry, what about you, brother?
I work with Scott doing
get right up on it, brother. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of that.
You hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Perfect.
All right. I work hand in hand with Scott. We cover Central Florida for JourneyPure. We do outreach and business development. Like Scott said, trying to find that next sick and suffering person.
All right, he already said all that, right?
Yeah, pretty
much.
I
don't tell us about Perry.
I'm a person in remission from recovery.
Right on.
Almost 3.5 years. I decided to work in this industry after.
You're in remission from addiction, not recovery. But that's okay.
You know what I meant.
You're trying to use my words. I love it, Perry. You're a quick learner.
Hear what I mean, not what I say, right?
Remission from addiction, because hopefully you're still in recovery.
Yeah.
So
that was
remission from addiction. But go ahead.
Absolutely. I got in this industry because I wanted to help other people who were like me. I never thought this was something I would do. Honestly, when I went to treatment, I didn't want to be there. But over 3.5 years later, I've made it, my life to help other people go through the same stuff. So definitely means a lot.
Yeah, I've known you for a couple years now, at least. At least it's been 2 years, right? 2 or 3 years?
2.5.
Maybe, almost 3, maybe.
Yeah.
And I like the growth I'm seeing, Perry. You stuck to it. You're doing your work. You're doing what needs to be done. And you're one of those that actually we're kind of talking about today.
Yeah,
which is why I really wanted you to be in the studio today. Here's the deal. All too often, when I've helped people, right, usually on day one, and we'll ask you where you came up with it. But it's like day 1 or day 2 right away, Trinity. You probably heard it, when you do groups too, is that they'll go, you know what? I want to do what you do.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if that meant you make it look easy, or when they say I want what you got, and it doesn't even look like you work. I don't know what they meant.
Sure.
But so many people go, I want to do what you do, and I guess what I take from that is, it looks like you get paid so much here that I want that kind of payment. I've been paid here, and like I was empty still. But it looks like, Louis, you get paid here. Is that the right take? Right take? Is that what you wanted?
Yeah, I 100% agree. The payment, like you said, you get that, tug at your heartstrings when you get someone who came in broken, and then you see like the light come on in their eyes, and they have a whole new life. That's probably the best kind of payment that I like to get.
Right. Agreed. What did you do before?
I worked in
get closer
retail management. I was store manager of a few stores. I have a college degree. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and then addiction took over. I was kind of doing nothing for a while, but then once I went through the process of recovery, I decided that this is what I wanted to do: help other people.
What did you graduate in?
A bachelor's sociology.
Right on.
Yep.
And what did you want to do with that? What was the plan?
Honestly, I didn't really have a plan.
So why'd you pick sociology? Who even knows what sociology is when they're graduating high school?
No.
I don't know if the regular Caucasian knows, but as a Mexican, I had no idea what that word sociology meant. To be honest with you, I probably still don't.
Yeah, it was kind of, I wasn't at first, but I was kind of interested, like the criminal justice sociology side, okay. And then, I decided like junior year to go with it, and I stuck with it, but I still wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But now it kind of relates to what we're doing now. So
it does, actually.
Yeah, sure.
And it's one of the degrees that people get to further along within the mental health industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So where did you grow up? What city?
I grew up most of my life in Connecticut, Norwalk, Connecticut.
So you're one of those transplants.
Yeah. I was interventioned by someone well, Kevin Morse from Lift Confidential.
I do know Kevin. You were one of Kevin Morse's interventions?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Hats off to Kevin.
Shout out to Kevin Morse, Lift Confidential.
Dude,
he's been on the show too.
Yeah, and he was supposed, if he would have stuck around longer last week, he would have been on last week. But the boy, he dipped out quick.
Mm-hmm. I know.
He had to get back up north.
Yeah. He's gonna come up here. Yeah.
Love Kevin. All right, fantastic. All right, so Kevin does this intervention. So on the intervention show, you might want to tune in or call in, because we're gonna have Kevin on. But so you go through this change, right? You said you were in retail. What kind of retail? What were you selling?
It was groceries, fresh foods.
All right. So see the difference there, everybody. Trinity, did you see the difference? Like when he talked about first the college.
Yeah, there's no passion.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just
just something.
It's a look that you have when you talk about what you do, right? Like I said, what did you? You're like, I gotta been selling paper clips, Louis. I don't really give a damn. It's almost like he didn't even remember what he sold. Groceries, like what? Kellogg's, what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who cares? There was nothing to it, right?
Sure.
As opposed to now, when someone says, like, "What do you do, Perry?" Like, how do you explain? Don't give me the JourneyPure hype stuff. I love JourneyPure. I send a lot of people to JourneyPure. We on the show send people to JourneyPure. Now Matters More Foundation sends people to JourneyPure. However, I want the real, like, when someone says, "What do you do?" What do you say?
I try to save lives. I try to transform, people's lives from being broken and not having any hope to being hopeful and showing up as a family member and a son, a daughter, a sister, brother. Give them purpose again.
Right. Why?
Because, it affected me so much, and I wanted to give back to help other people do what I was able to do, because I wasn't sure, if I was able to get back to being, a normal, productive member of society. I mean, I once was before addiction, but, it was just so far gone. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. But once you get that, you want to help other people and give that to them as well.
How painful did it get for you? Well, you don't have to. You can get as deep as you want to get, or not as deep. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter. I'm not here to.
No.
I'm not Oprah. I'm just here trying to ask you, like, seriously, how deep did it get? Because you really just changed everything. Like, you had this college degree, go this way. You're working. You're doing retail. A lot of people in retail stay in retail. A lot of people in restaurants stay in restaurants. You fixed it that quick. But you changed course. So
sure.
How bad was the pain part?
It got pretty bad. It started, a little brief history, won't go into it too much, doing pain pills, all that kind of stuff. Then, I'll never do heroin. It's, something I'll never do. Then I was doing it, then using a needle and all that kind of stuff. Not having a job, not having any money, just living in my parents' basement, not interacting with anybody. It was pretty dismal for a while. So it's definitely a big change in much needed one for sure.
And this was all in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So while all this is happening, what was work happening? I mean, what was happening at work? Were you still succeeding at work, or were you still able to get work done?
I did,
because you had an intervention. I mean, somebody was saying, "This ain't working for Perry."
Yeah, no. So I did for a little bit, and then it just got too much. Wasn't going on time. Work was slipping, so eventually I was let go. And then I worked a couple of jobs here and there, and then after I just when it didn't work out one of the next ones, I just pretty much just gave up and resigned to a life of getting high for a living. That was my job every day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when you started even thinking about this industry as a possibility for you?
Possibly through like halfway through maybe my stay in treatment, because the first I did about 90 days. My first few weeks I just I don't want to be here. What is this going to do for me? You know, I'm in Florida.
It's hot as hell here.
Yeah, there's alligators, there's snakes
and alligators.
I don't
mosquitoes.
Yeah, mess with that. But probably about halfway through, we had a good staff there where I went, and they were really trying to encourage you, and they would call you out when you weren't focused or motivated. And I saw how much they help other people, and I said,
"Yeah,
wow,
that was a good team there. I sent people there too."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at that time it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
No, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, when I
just came out like that, Perry.
No, I'm not saying
I know
like
you
that.
didn't mean it like that, Perry.
I just mean there was a few guys personally who I developed relationships with when they were working
I know
there.
what you meant. We just like to bust a little bit. But anyway, so lions, tigers, and bears and all, and then you're sitting there. And was there anybody in particular, or was it just the experience itself that kind of said, this looks like something I want to do?
There's a few people there. I mean, it's pretty much the whole staff when I was there. It just showed that they cared and they wanted to help you succeed. I had gone to a couple IOPs and detoxes up north a year or so before that, but it was mostly people who didn't want to be there or they didn't care. But here, where I went, all the clients tried to help each other as well, and it's just, I think, a perfect kind of blend of everything.
Yeah, right on. Now, you, Scott. Now you're not in any type of recovery, any kind of remission, right?
No.
All right. So, but it doesn't mean that you didn't suffer pain. Like Trinity's not,
right?
Never had an addiction or anything like that. But he went through pain.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to speak a little bit on that? Like, why do you want to help people? I mean, there's so many other things you could do. You could do sales. Even though it's considered sales, what you do, it's really, you're selling life. I mean, that's a different kind of sell. So, so why this?
Well, so both of my parents, growing up, they were teachers, so in a helping profession to begin with.
Okay.
And alcoholism, though, runs in my family.
Oh, okay.
So paternal grandfather was an alcoholic for many, many years until my dad was 6. Then my dad's sister was killed in a drunk driving accident.
Oh, man.
She was the one using. Then I had 3 maternal uncles who all died of alcohol-related diseases. And then, just knowing that and then losing my dad when I was 18, passed away, the grief process is real. It can be very, very painful. And that's a crossroad in your life when you can either make a decision to use or to, do something healthy with that or do something unhealthy with that. The good news is my mom said, about 6 months after my dad passed, she just said, I think we're doing okay,
right?
But let's go see. So we went to counseling as a family, me, my mom, and my sister. And when I got through with that process, I just thought, man, I really like what this did for me. It helped me to clarify things. It helped me to just really help me to understand what was going on internally, processing my own emotions in healthy ways. And I thought, I might want to do that someday in some way for somebody. I knew I didn't want to be a teacher because they don't make any money. Although when you get into social services, you don't really make a whole lot of money either. But you don't do it for that. But I knew I wanted to do something that was helping.
Right.
So then when I got into college, I basically started studying, and business bored me. There were a lot of things that I tried my hand at. Then when I got into psychology, I thought, this is it, man. It got me from there. And so from then on, I started out, I worked in direct care, worked as a tech, started out there, and then moved up, became an admissions case manager, and then became the director of admissions, case management, utilization review, a lot of technical terms, but held multiple positions within inside a treatment facility.
Right.
And The direct care was hard, even though that was great. It was great interaction that you had because you got to form that relationship and you got to see actual physical change with that client or that patient.
Right.
But it's also hard too. You take that home with you a lot. So that's when I moved into a different side of the business, went into admissions and the marketing side of things, where I can actually still work with families and patients on the front end, and then I can basically kind of get them to, hand walk them to the treatment and say, okay, now let's get you help. So the intrinsic value for me is being able to, like I said, see where people's pain is, because at the underlying cause of anyone's addiction, there's always some trigger spot, or maybe we talk about big T's and little T's, big traumas, little traumas. It can be a cumulative effect of little T's, or it can be one big thing. There's always a reason. There's something that's going on behind somebody's pain. So helping them or seeing that pain and being able to intervene early and get them help early. I mean, for us, I could have gone a very different path knowing that alcoholism runs in my family.
Right.
But my mom intervened early and we got help, we got counseling. So the good news is there is help available, and today is the day.
Right.
And so that's what we always try to do is we say let's commit to today. Getting help. And so for me, that's the beauty of what we do, is being able to see that person say, okay, I'll go.
For sure. Now, you brought up psychology of it. Now, bringing up the psychology of it makes me think of all the people that I've helped, through counseling, and then seeing that they don't have a passion. A lot of people are like, I don't know what I want to do with life. Life sucks. That kind of conversation. And me loving what I do so much that it doesn't even feel like I work. Translating that to the other person or something like that. Can you speak a little bit on that? Because there's a lot of people that still don't feel that passion. So what are some of the things that you think people can do with all that pain or whatever they're feeling about not liking life or not liking themselves? How do you find your passion? Like, how would you answer that question right now? Like, how does a person find their passion? It's hard, right?
Yeah,
it's not an easy question.
It isn't. It's one of those things, like the great things that we ponder.
But you get asked that a lot. It's like, how did you find yours? Well, we all just answered it really, kind of simply. But like, I didn't seek it. I wasn't seeking it when I found it.
Well, and that's the point too, because I even tried to get out of the industry for a little bit, and God said, "No, you're not done there yet."
Right.
So He kept me in the industry, and I think that's the thing is sometimes it finds you.
Yeah.
Out of necessity or out of, just you might be searching and you stumble on it and you think, oh my gosh, I really, really I can get my head around this and really love what I do. Because again, if you don't love what you do, your heart's not in it. You're not going to.
That's a job then.
Yeah, that's a job.
I don't want a job.
But if you're in like what we're doing and it's a passion, like we said, whether it's a personal thing or a family thing, where you can see the benefit of what you've been given, either personally or as a family member, you can see that benefit, and you're like, God, you gotta know the benefit. So, being able to be passionately, say for lack of a better word, selling what we do, say, hey, like I think you mentioned earlier, selling life.
Yeah.
Like, hey, there is life. You don't have to stay in this.
Yeah.
So, for me, it was just more of a natural progression, having worked internally in the treatment industry and then just kind of taking that naturally outwardly and saying, hey, we have the answer here.
Right.
Come.
Right on. So from a spiritual perspective, Dharma guy, Trinity, you're here. Like, passion is something we talk about on Dharma time.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting actually, because I was thinking to myself how I would answer that question when you asked it to him. And then the first thing that popped in my head, I don't know either one of you guys 100% well, but I think you would probably answer the question very similar, and that is, if we all just won the lottery tomorrow, would we change what we do?
Great question.
And and that's the answer. I don't mean like maybe specific employment, because hey, when you win the lottery, I could totally see I quit. I get that, but you would still find yourself gravitating to doing the same things, even though it wouldn't be through that profession, maybe. And so, like, if I won the lottery tomorrow, I'd still be in here on Tuesday doing Dharma time with you.
Right. What about Friday? Would you still be here on the couch live?
I don't know. We'd have to talk about it. That's the thing. But yeah, I think that I would probably travel a lot, but I would make sure I'm back on Tuesdays and Fridays, because I like what I do, man. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like helping people. I like the reward. I told you the story a while back. When I was at PetSmart with Skylar, and that girl came up to me that was in one of my groups or whatever. And money can't buy that. That feeling when somebody looks at you and says, "I'm alive today because of you."
Right.
I got goosebumps now just thinking about
it. Not only that, I mean, I know personally people that have approached me that says, "Hey, do you still talk to Trinity?" Like they don't know that we still talk or something. They'll call me years later. Do you still talk to Trinity? And they'll say, "Hey," and they'll say a sentence that you said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How does that feel when I tell you that?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so I think for me that's the answer. Yeah. If you won the lottery tomorrow, aside from the extravagance and traveling and things of that nature, but boil it down to what would you do if you won the lottery? What would you fill your day with? That's your passion.
My day would not change a day.
Yeah, I would still do it.
And that's what I think. That's why I said, when I thought I was going to get out of the industry, I think that just to your point, for me, I feel like it's a calling. And I feel like if you're called to do something, if you don't do it, it's almost like you're wandering around aimless. Like you feel like I don't. Like something's missing. Like I'm not connecting. I'm not getting something right. So I feel like if I wasn't doing this, I wouldn't feel right. If that makes sense.
Right.
So would I do something different? Like you said, hey, may I travel, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
maybe
but eventually,
the fun stuff. But
eventually,
yeah, you're right.
You would somehow.
Even have to get back to it.
Even if you're traveling, you would find a way of helping people while you're traveling.
Right.
Like there would be a way of you're doing it.
Right.
That's your passion. So whatever you would find yourself doing if you didn't have to, that's your passion.
Yep.
Right.
I agree.
Right. The thing is when you're talking about passion, it's almost like and you guys can correct me if you're wrong, but when someone's asking me about trying to find their passion or how did I find mine, it's almost like trying to ask me when I found Dana. How did I find the woman of my dreams, kind of thing. And it's like, I wasn't looking for Dana either. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I was still in the I don't want to go out with any of these creatures because every time I go out with one of these creatures, I get so sidetracked.
We have me on video saying I'm not going to do that.
Exactly. You were on this show already saying that. But I was concerned. I was trying to quit women for a while because it was just I wouldn't think about me. I would just think about conquest. Boom, done with you. Conquest. Boom, done with you. Conquest. And that's not healthy. I was like, I want to become marriage material. And the only way to become marriage material is to somehow, fix whatever's broken. And again, I felt so broken. But then out comes this woman who's just like, ha, 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 ha. And and she had like birds flying around it, like really Cinderella. I got the whole dream and stuff.
Dana, I don't even know you, but God bless you. I can assure you, Lui married up. I'm just going to tell you.
All my boys told me that, bro. They told her that from day one.
I've known him for too long.
And they were like, oh, my God, how did you get her, bro? I was like, I don't know, but I didn't find her looking for her.
Right.
All I know is once I saw her, I fell in love with her. First of all, you may not believe it, but I fell in love with day one. I mean, really, and I did not believe it, love at first sight, dude. Dana's my first real girlfriend, if that tells you anything. You know what I mean? She doesn't meet any of the standards of the kind of women that I went out with. You know what I mean? I like the dirty nasty. I liked it. She was too nice. She didn't even curse. She doesn't curse. She didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't do any of that. And I was like, okay, you're definitely marriage material, and I'm not ready for that. Mm-hmm. But the point is, I fell in love with her the moment I saw her, and it's just how I found my passion because the way I found it was, I was the Pied Piper in the drug game, right? So I always had stuff. I started so young, 9, and slanging by 11 that I'm the one that had it. There's not a lot of 11-year-olds. You try to sell weed to another 11-year-old. That's not easy. You got to be damn good at selling dope, to make money at 11 and 12, right? And then to change the products at 15 and do it the way I did, it was a little easier because the 80s everybody wanted cocaine, right? So that was a lot easier. But it was still I was a Pied Piper. I always had stuff, always had money, always had a lifestyle. And I'm going to go to the lifestyle thing because that's really what got me. I was addicted to the lifestyle that came with my use. It wasn't the substance. The substances, you could change them, you can interlock them, whatever. We could talk about that all day long. But it was the lifestyle that I felt like I had. I felt like I had a sense of freedom from restriction. Like there was no rules that annoyed me. In other words, even though the street has tons of rules, by the way, which is weird, it has lots of rules. Don't say this, don't do this, don't rat, don't go over here, ask for permission over here. There's lots of rules. But for some reason, it was the rules that I grew up with that I was fighting. Those are the kind of rules that I was bothered by. Right. So I like the lifestyle of just attacking those kinds of rules. You can hit anybody. You can have violence with anybody. You could. hours didn't matter. 3 a.m. doesn't matter. You can get high on a Sunday. That didn't matter, because as soon as you walk away from God, all God's laws go away, right? So then you can say, oh, now there's a bunch of restrictions that just went out the window. But then, I got sober, clean, and I didn't do it for me at first. I had every intention of going back to it. Every intention. I did it to shut the world up. Right. Not only shut the world up, but I realized in the little bits of times that I had in clean before, that I would get clarity of thought. And I felt powerful, by the way. What I really got addicted to at first was the feeling like when somebody says, do you want a drink or something like that? And they go, no, I don't drink. And that look in their face. Every waitress or everybody look at you like, whoa.
Yep.
Like, and I always took that like, oh, you wish you could have that kind of control. And I took that as a self-control. So that was the first thing that I really liked about being clean and sober, is just not using and telling you I don't use, and you go like, I couldn't do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that was my first thing. But once I realized, when people started saying, hey, thank you, and I started enjoying that, wow, thank me for helping you, because at first I was a tech, but even while a tech, I just didn't want to flip burgers. Yeah. You know what? You know how I became a tech? I became a tech because I was going to fight this guy that was like Trinity size. Maybe not as big. Just almost Trinity size, right? And I'm with Dana when I'm dating her. And this guy was up doing karaoke, singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. You know that song? Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Don McLean, baby.
I didn't know the song. I'm sitting back there like the young Mexican that I was, and I was still kind of rough around the edges. And I was like, bro, get off the stage, bro. I was like, just shut the F up. And I start heckling him while he's on stage singing Bye Bye Miss American Pie. So he finishes. And the reason I'm telling him to get off, because that song's like 8 minutes. It's like an 8-minute song. Yeah. It's forever, it seems like, right?
Song, oh, man.
Yeah, but not at that time it wasn't. And so here I am with this girl I'm trying to impress, right? And now the guy starts walking to me after he's singing. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm about to get in a mess. And as he got closer, he just kept getting bigger, right? And I'm thinking, uh-oh, this is going to turn into a problem.
So you realize you were sharp as a bowling ball at that point, right?
Well, I'm realizing, it's very different in sobriety, and I don't have my boys with me. I don't have a gun, and I don't even have intoxicants to make me feel like Superman. And I got this girl that I'm trying to impress, and I didn't come to Florida to go to prison or the hospital. And the guy walks up to me, and he sits in the booth with us, and he hugs me, and he puts his big arm around me, and he's all drunk, and he goes, I like you. And I'm thinking, oh, and I'm like, hey bro, seriously, yeah, hey, come on, man, don't touch me, and I'm trying to still play tough, right? Even though I know he can crush me right now, but I'm still playing tough. And he goes, what do you do? And we had this conversation. Anyway, long story short, he goes, we're hiring at this hospital I work at, and you'd be great at it, because they bring in drunks like me. The cops bring them in handcuffs. They take off the handcuffs and they leave, and then the guys end up ruining the nursing station and busting everything up. I said, let me get this straight. You want to give me a job? It was a crisis unit. PEMS.
Yeah.
PEMS. So I go, you want to give me a job where I can physically put my hands on somebody and put them on the ground with another 2 guys, and you're going to pay me for that? They go, yeah. I said, sign me up. That's how I got into the industry. Because every 5 minutes at PEMS, man, anybody from PEMS, I mean, that place was volatile, especially on the weekends, man. I loved working overnights. And I loved working the weekends because they'd bring in the drunks and they'd act all tough, and you're code, and you come and you boom and put them down, and then the doctor comes and puts them, the nurse comes and puts a shot in them, and whoop, off they go. You put them in restraints.
Night termite.
I love that stuff. I was a jerk, and then I realized some of the people I worked with are more jerks, and I started realizing that we would plan ahead. There were people that would plan ahead and says, look, man, we want a good night tonight, so why don't we go ahead and make sure, I'm just going to invent names, make sure we get Johnny hyped up. Why don't you go in there and tell him, let's restrict his television or cut him off TV quicker. He's going to go off. We'll put him in restraints. We'll have a good night. And I started realizing these conversations were happening. I said, whoa, that's not cool. And I hated it. And they're like, what's the matter? You're one of us. And I started feeling like I'm on the other side. I started feeling like a CO.
Yeah.
Like a correctional officer in a prison. And I started feeling like, I don't like the way, no, bro. So the battle began. I started battling the system within. And as I did that, the good therapists, the good clinical directors, the good medical directors started noticing. And I started going higher in the industry.
Right.
To the point where when I graduated college, a doctor actually approached me and says, why don't you come into private practice? He goes, you got a great reputation. I ended up having a great reputation of defending client rights. And that's when the passion started building. And it wasn't really there first. I got to admit, the first couple of years. But there's this young group of people, and it was a group called Young Recovery. And I know there's at least two of you that have recently hit me up in the last a month. It's so weird that this is happening, but at least two of them. It was that group where I built my passion because I saw these young kids that were coming in. They were going to group 3 days a week. We were doing groups 3 days a week. I was starting to get that feeling. Remember when you did that first group and you called me and you told me, you know how it felt? Yeah. I said, man, hold on to that feeling. That feeling, you're going to get that feeling over and over again. That feeling that you get when you leave a group all charged because you're like, wow, man, they responded.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the passion happened. All that to be said was so that I can tell you this. Passion is not something I think you look for. It's something that if you start doing something because it kind of energizes you inside, like there seems like to be a greater purpose for why you're doing it. And I don't care what it is.
Right.
That's how you develop that passion. So does that sound?
Absolutely.
Like what happened to you? Like all of a sudden, it's like, I can't imagine me doing anything else.
I did what I'm supposed to be doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same.
And I've still done other stuff for money.
Sure.
I'll still do other stuff for money.
Right.
But every time I do other stuff for money, it just doesn't feel the same.
Right.
Like I could take it or leave it.
Sure.
Right?
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. Trinity, this passion thing, I still think it's highly spiritually connected.
Oh, yeah.
I still think that
it helps with that inner peace.
That's where that conversation, I think, needs to begin. And I think there's a lot of people out there that when we come in spiritually depleted and we come in with our depression or we come in with our anxiety or we come in with our heavy substance use, you know,
right.
I got to start hearing that spiritual angle, Trinity. I got to hear something that there's a greater reason I'm living, because if it's just to get up and listen to all this bullshit every day and deal with this bullshit every day and be told that I'm a piece of crap and be told that I'm never going to be anything and feel like I'm never going to be anything, then why am I going to continue, Trinity?
No, I mean, obviously I agree with the spiritual angle. I mean, it saved my life, and I've seen it help others. And I think that the spiritual aspect of things is what helps kind of get rid of all the stuff. You know, it helps you actually listen to that internal voice that's saying, hey, this is good for you. This is what you want. And I will say, finding your passion, it contributes to that inner peace. And once you have the inner peace, you'll do everything you can to keep it. Like nothing. And so that's why I stay on my path, because I like that inner peace that I have, and I don't want anything to mess it up. I've done other things, like you said, for money, whatever. And so I know how that feels. Nothing feels as good as the inner peace does. And so from a spiritual perspective, I mean, that's why I behave the way I do in my life, but that's also why I do what I do, because it does contribute to the inner peace. And that inner peace is fantastic, man.
Yeah.
Right. Perry, so you found it and you started telling your family, right? You got to tell somebody first, hey, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. No.
What do they say?
They thought it was a great idea. They just liked that I was happy and I was doing some, productive and trying to help other people. So yeah, I told them at first, and they said, yeah, go for it. And I didn't know, like, when I first got into it, like, how long I was going to stick, because I was just starting. I started as a tech, like he said. Then I got to move up and, kind of be in charge at the place I was at. And then now I've stepped into an outside role. But I think it's just grown stronger as I progress in the industry. And like you said, I can't see myself doing anything else.
Great.
Let's talk about that tech position real quick, because that's where I first cut my teeth like money was due.
I did it 2 days.
I
remember to help out in Tropical.
I personally love the tech position. I personally think the tech is the most important person on the floor at the treatment center.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree.
Right? Because at the end of the day, no matter what time of day it was, whatever's going on in that person's head at the moment, if that tech recognizes it and can have that conversation, or just whatever they do, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a privilege given, whether it's an ear, just listening, or just noticing or compliment, whatever it is, that can change the day.
Oh yeah,
for sure,
right? For sure.
Yeah, they're the backbone of the industry. That's for sure. I mean, they're the front line. So much respect to anybody who's ever done it, including those of us in the room. Right. But really, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones they're on the front lines, and they develop relationships. They develop that trust, and when you see that happening, you start to see that connection, because like we've always talked about too, the opposite of addiction is not necessarily sobriety, it's community, it's connection, it's those types of things that help keep you in it. So if you can start to develop those relationships, and it starts with that tech, I think I think that's the first, you start to develop trust, healthy relationships, healthy interactions with that tech. That's where it starts to me.
The thing that I noticed when, because when I was doing the groups and whatnot, it was in Tropical. They, I guess somebody either left or something happened, and you guys needed somebody for just like a day or two to come in and help out. And I was like, I've never done it. Sure, I don't mind. So I came in and helped out a couple days. And what I did notice about it, other than my experience, what I noticed is how influential the tech is. Because they're the ones that, like, they're influential. Like, you got the therapist, the group, leaders, moderators, whatever you want to call them. They're the hierarchy, I guess, as far as they're the quote-unquote professional. And so I think sometimes the clients have a tendency to view that as authority almost.
Yeah.
And kind of like somewhat combative or disconnected until they see the value in it. To whereas the tech, they don't view that as authority.
Right.
There's like rapport there. They view that as like a friend, a buddy, whatever. Right. So their words have a lot more weight at times.
A lot.
And so if you have a good tech, they can defuse stuff. They can motivate you. They can be like, look, man, I know the group guy is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, or maybe you don't get it right now, but trust me, and they'll listen to that voice of reason when they won't listen to the authority figure at the moment.
For sure.
And so in that sense, yes, I agree. They're very important.
Well, in the tech, you think about it, that they're meeting the very basic needs.
That's what I was about to say.
You're meeting my basic needs because I go to you if I need something. I go to you, like I need to make a phone call. I need to go to the bathroom. I need to, that's the person you go to. So you got to have that rapport. You got to have that relationship.
Right.
So.
And if they don't give you the needs, it's because someone else said that you can't have it.
Exactly.
It wasn't the tech.
Hey, I just work here, bro. I'm following the rules, man.
Because you get that initial. I think they first start to think of you as authority, but then they start seeing daily that wait a minute, he's giving me what I need. Oh yeah, he's giving me what I need today. All right, I'm gonna be good to him.
Right.
Well, then at the end of the day, too, the whole wrap up thing, I always liked that. That was always cool. At the end of the day, the wrap up where they would sit down and kind of talk about the whole day or whatever. Right. It was different than you would get in a therapeutic sense. It was like it was literally just hanging out with some friends, just talking about the day. That's the kind of rapport that you build with somebody. There's trust that starts to form.
Well, they're hanging out all day with you. They're smoking with you. They're vaping with you. Whatever they do, in different units. They're in there with you.
Yeah.
But also they're not sitting there writing down everything you're saying.
No.
So when you have a conversation with the tech, it feels like it's a lot more confidential because you don't see the tech going, and the tech's not calling your parents. The tech's not calling your wife or your husband and saying, we need to talk about this.
Right.
They're not challenging you as much because they don't have to.
I actually sat in on 2 of the meetings, AA and NA.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, they let me sit in on them.
So
when I took them over there,
open meetings for sure.
I actually sat in with them, and they were shocked about that too because I was like, if I'm going to ask you to do it, why wouldn't I do it? So I sat in there with them. But yeah, it was that same kind of bond that you start to form.
And you know what else I really like about that position is that it's as a tech where you got to see all the levels of the treatment within your industry, and you got to see what you like or dislike, and you go, oh my God.
Yeah,
I think I can be a therapist. If that's what a therapist is, I can do that. If that idiot can do it. So we know you techs out there are kind of looking at us that have been around a long time, and you're thinking, if I owned this treatment center, I would do it like this. If I was, and that's fine. Whatever you think, man. It's do it. Because I love it when people that were, that started as techs eventually grow within the industry somewhere. Some become in like you did, business development, stuff like that, what you guys ended up doing. Some stay as therapists or counselors, and some go on to own treatments, whatever it is. The point is that if you're suffering from this and you feel like you can do it better, that's great. Get passionate about helping others. But here's what we have to talk about. How fast, though, Scott? How fast, though, Perry? Because some people, at least in those around 2007, 8, 9, when everything was hitting really hard, people were getting out of treatment and owning treatment centers within a couple of weeks. So how fast should someone develop as a helper of people professionally? Is there a number for you? Like I know in my hiring practice you had to be 2 years, sober.
Right.
You know what I mean? But everybody has their own little rules and stuff. But do you think there's a speed or some? What do you look at?
Well, just from my own perspective, I would think that it is something that you do need to take a little bit slower because, especially when you're fresh and recovered. Yeah. Listen, we'd see guys that would get a 30-day chip, buy a new pair of shoes, and go out and market for a treatment facility, and that is probably not going to be your best bet.
Right.
I, like you, have had hiring practices in the past where I required 2 years of sobriety. Right. And I think that's just kind of a good rule of thumb. Doesn't mean that you can't be doing something maybe volunteering-wise in the industry, but I think that I think it's important to have just that good, solid foundation under your feet before then you can, because there's other ways you can still give back the gift to others before working for the industry. But then if you feel like in those maybe 2 years, and the jury's still out on this, I'm sure. You know, people have their opinions about it. That's just my personal one.
Sure.
But if you feel like in those 2 years that this is where your calling is, and you feel like this is where you really need to give back, get in. I mean,
it might depend on the person a little bit, but I think it sets you up too. I think some people got set up real early. Yeah. That look, if I would have came directly from trafficking and drug sales into any other kind of sales, I wouldn't have been ready.
Right.
You know what I mean? I needed to get away from that, because then, especially if my role models were all about that.
Right.
Then I would everybody's like this.
You had a great skill set for selling. We just had to teach you how to use your powers for good and not evil.
Right. That's the point. So I think there's a lot of people that did the whole got out of treatment right away. They started being people that put people in treatment, and they were doing it wrong. We know that.
Right.
But I think there's a time of self-growth and stress that you're not ready for that kind of stress either.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of disappointment and people die in our industry. There's people that don't make it.
Right.
And if I'm helping somebody, I want to be ready for that. We all lose people. But to try to be helping somebody and they didn't make it and have to speak to those parents or have to speak to their loved ones, it's hard. And you may not be ready. And that's how I have that conversation. Like, look, I know you're ready as far as like you got this energy. You want to be in this industry. You want to be big things. I get it. But if you're not in a better place and it's not more consistent yet, there's a lot of problems within this that you want to be ready for, and you're not ready for that stress. What about you, Perry? Because you started a quick in.
Yeah, I had a little bit different experience.
I know you
did.
I was
hired 5 months barely. I was sober. Did 90 days.
I wouldn't have done that, by the way, Perry.
No.
And I was against it. I remember when it happened to you, and I was not a fan of that. It had nothing to do with you.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I just was not a fan of you being in that position that early.
Yeah, no, and I don't blame you. And I think now, if I could do it over, I probably would have, waited a little longer. But there was a few positions, like tech positions opened up, and, me and 3 of my friends who were in sober living were all at about the same amount of time. They're like, hey, you guys are working now. We're like, oh, cool. And then, I was 5 months sober, and then I think when I hit a year, I was promoted to be the lead recovery advocate. So I was in charge of all the techs after that. And then I got to, after that, do some admissions and some case management. But I got like a trial by fire like right away. I mean, probably now I wouldn't recommend that. I probably wouldn't do it again. I'd probably think closer to at least a year probably would be more beneficial. So you get some time under your feet. You get to, heal. You get to learn. You see what you want to do. Because, when you get thrown in there at 5 months, you don't know, how well, you have a foundation yet before you have to jump in and try to deal with other people's recovery.
Right. Well, it is a little awkward when you become the authority over people that you're in treatment with. It's a little bit awkward.
I bet.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? All of a sudden, your friend, because remission is, recidivism is part of this business.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people that you went to treatment with that all of a sudden now they're clients again. So how did you deal with that?
Yeah, it was a little hard. When I started working there was someone who I was in treatment with had come back as I was starting working there, and then I was asking him like, "Hey, you got to do this. Come on, let's do better." And he's like, "Why should I listen to you? We were roommates 3 months ago."
Exactly.
Right.
I'm like, "Well,
yeah, I know your shit, bro."
But it took a little bit getting used to, but just relating to him, like I know what you're going through. Like you can get here as well.
Right.
So
Awesome.
I will say though, on a side note, you're doing something right, bro, because our Facebook has been fired up all day. I mean, Mindy's been commenting a lot, but you've got like fans. They're like,
oh yeah,
Steven Gallagher came on
hey,
here.
Steven, what's up, Steve? How you doing, brother?
Tommy Fawcett came on and said, hey, what's up?
Fawcett.
Kevin Morse is watching right now.
Kevin.
But everybody's talking about Perry. So you're doing something right, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that's awesome,
it.
man.
Thank
that's
you.
Awesome. You really are. I mean, to be honest with you, listen, you are the reason I wanted to do this show. You don't know it, but Perry, you are the reason I wanted to do this show. Number one, because I can admit it's not a full science. Like Scott and me, probably very similar in who we'd hire, who we wouldn't hire based on a lot of factors, right? And that's just because we've been around it a very long time, and and we know how many times it bit us, right? As much as we wanted that person to succeed in this, it bit us. But you have broken that mold a little bit, and so here's what I want to say. Number one, it's not a foolproof science. Sometimes it works. For you so far, it's working. But number two is don't stop now. Just keep developing personally more than you're developing professionally.
Absolutely.
You understand?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because the more in this business, in the helping profession where people's lives are the deal, that's the deal.
Mm-hmm.
The more you work on you, the business side will take care of itself. You don't have to practice business. You don't have to practice sales. You don't have to go to these conferences and learn sales techniques and all these fancy things that people learn when they sell other things in life, cars or whatever. You just need to keep working on you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, stay true to who you are. Stay true to understanding the pain that people are in, the total frustration that people are in. Keep it green for you. Also understand the things that would just trigger you and make you turn around, because in your business now, especially in business development, it's like one wrong word, that dude turned around and he's getting high today.
Sure.
And you're going to feel like it's your fault, because if you sit there and go, God, it's because I said this.
Mm-hmm.
When it may not be. Look, they're getting in the car, or they're getting on the plane, or they're walking in that door, or they're signing that document. It's not up to you. But you're going to feel like it is, Perry. You're going to go through a lot of moments where you're going to feel like it was. There's going to be people that you feel, damn it, man, if I would have said this, they would have stayed. If I would have said this, they would have gotten treatment. And now they're dead.
Sure.
It's going to happen, Perry. We all got dead people.
Yeah.
What I'm going to tell you is you work deeper on you, because what you can feel comfortable in is I said what I said. That wasn't me. I said everything I needed to say.
Yeah.
I gave them the open door. I had my hand out. They just didn't take it. And the people that stay in this business, when I got in, what I was told, here's what I was worried about, Perry. This is what I'm telling you. What I was worried about is, because here I had the passion. Now I'm doing it, right? But when I looked around at the people that were doing it 20 years in, they looked burnt out.
Sure.
They were all burnt. And I was worried about that. And so I knew I had to take care of me. And the guy that brought me in is as burnt as he appeared to be. And with all the negatives that he may have, the positive thing is he told me, keep you fresh. You work on you. Don't ever stop working on you. And I never have. And that was the best possible advice I had in my life. So I want to just give it to you. And I want you to just remember it, because I kept working on me. And that personal development is what has helped me deal with just all of it. And because there's so much failure in our business.
That was free of charge from the dope doctor here.
That's right.
I love it.
And I love that. Thank you very much. I agree. Yeah, you got to keep working on yourself, and then you use that as an asset too to try to help that next person as well.
And thank you for being that next generation of giving back, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you. Because eventually, Scott, we go away as like they come in young.
Yeah,
right? Look how young.
I mean,
he comes from that whole crisis that we're still in. It's like we have generations right now where the father and the son went to the same war.
Yeah.
And we have the same thing in the treatment industry. We now have people that are helping people that came through the same crisis that we're still in.
For sure.
Anyway, last moment words for Perry. Last words.
If you're struggling, there's hope out there. Reach out. There's plenty of resources, and we'll be able to help you. Anybody can help you. Don't give up.
Right on. And we will have your number and your titles on these, so don't worry. They'll have the website and the phone number. Scott, any last words?
Well, definitely privileged to work with this guy, for sure.
Ditto.
I mean, really, he's a solid dude, and I couldn't imagine doing anything different. So, find your passion, work it, do it. I mean,
I'm glad you're with JourneyPure, bro.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so glad to see you with JourneyPure.
Me too.
I've always respected you and always respected the work you do, and I'm glad that you're there to help develop other guys like Perry. Thank you very much, Scott.
No.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's helped me a lot
too.
Yeah,
seriously.
You,
he's a pro in this, man. He's just got it. He's so good. And Trinity, last words?
I mean, I know we're running out of time, so I'll make it very brief. Another one popped up for you, Pat Tinto.
That's my mom. Hi, Mom.
Awesome.
That's
but
awesome.
More importantly, somebody did. Mindy posted, and she's been posting the whole time, but she did post something that I think needs to be repeated, and that is today she's celebrating 274 days alcohol free. So
nice.
Right on, Mindy.
I want to put that out
right
there.
on.
Good for you, girl.
That's
awesome.
so cool.
And I got no love.
Yeah, where's our love?
I know,
sure
right?
You got some
It's
people
because I'm the
watching.
dinosaur,
Hey, bro, I'm the same.
know.
Whatever.
Dude, we're hosting. We didn't even get to
I know. Well, when we went to high school with God, it's okay. What are you gonna do?
Right on. All right, everybody. Well, you heard it. That's the thing. You'll develop your passion. You'll find your passion when you're not really looking for it. You'll find your passion when it starts burning inside you as a mission But listen, don't feel ashamed about getting paid for it either. You have to pay bills. The beautiful thing is I haven't had a job in forever. Look, when I was slanging things negative and doing things negative, I didn't feel like I worked. Well, guess what? My whole life helping people, I haven't felt like I've worked. I've never really had a job. That's how I feel. What I have is a passion for what I do, whether it was negative, positive. I've always believed in what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Believe in what you're doing. And if you do have a job and you want to find something else and do something, just understand what that job really is. Understand the purpose you're really providing people, because I don't care whether you're serving tables or anything. You're putting a smile on people's faces. You're making you're giving people an escape. You're giving people a good feeling about themselves. Then that is part of the deal, and you don't need to get paid necessarily for that. But let me tell you something: when I go to a restaurant or I go somewhere and you make me feel better about what I'm doing or make me feel better about that interaction, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I needed that at that moment. Anyway, from all of us here on the Couch Live, adios amigos. It's time for a taco. See you.
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
That was awesome.
He really grows on you, doesn't he?